when I texted him this morning, he was out for a run. Arizona pretty nice because right now we feel like we live in Seattle here. We got nothing but rain.
Oh man, yeah, I'm sorry to do this to you, but it's about 82, not a cloud in the sky, no wind. I am standing just off the 18th green here in Scottsdale, and yeah, it's not too bad. It's going to be a little warm today. It's going to get up to about 90, 95, but hopefully the Cowgirls can match it with their play.
And there's some talk. The Cowboys will be out there because this is the same course, correct, for the men and the women?
That's right. They started doing this in 2014, where it was basically a 2 week stretch where the women go first for a week, then the men come in and take over for the second week. What it does, it makes for a lot of fun golf for sure.
And I'm going to guess there'll be more than just the tee box, but there'll be some changes a little bit between the two tournaments. They'll maybe change the course a little bit for the men, or am I off base?
Well, so the structure of the course will stay the same. They'll definitely lengthen it. This is already a fairly long championship for the women, playing about 6,500 yards. So they'll lengthen it to probably about 7,200 for the men. So that's how they change it up here a little bit for the two tournaments.
And again, the Cowgirls have kind of steadily played better and better, which is kind of, I would think that as a coach and as a team, that's what you'd want to do, is ramp up your play as you head toward match play. And Stephen, we know this from, we've seen it before with Oklahoma State, probably more on the men's side. You can win the medal play, and when match play comes along, it's a whole different beast.
That's exactly right, and that's what has Oklahoma State, both the coaching staff on the women's side and the rest of us so excited, is because this is a total team from top to bottom. There's no weak link, and so it's not a situation where you get into a match play format and you're dealing with one superstar that's kind of carried you for the last few days. Stanford, who's atop the leaderboard, not to say that that's what they're doing, but it's not far off. They've had one player, she's going to end up being the National Player of the Year, who is just destroying the field individually. Well, when you hit match play, that only counts for 1 point. So you got to find a way to get the rest of your team there too. So that's something that Oklahoma State feels like it's set up really well to do. Maya Stark, she entered the tournament as the number 4 player in the country, and when she went out and fired a 68 yesterday, we had 2 more girls 2 under par, and so you're talking 3 of your 5 starters went out and were at least 2 under par yesterday. So that makes this team pretty scary when you start talking about a match play format for sure. But first, you got to get there. You got to take care of business today, which they tee off in about an hour, and hopefully they do that and end up with a nice seed for that match play format starting tomorrow morning.
Well, and you mentioned that. Not only that, not only is this a balanced team, the Cowgirls have got, on any given day, they can have, any one of 3 or 4 players can kind of lead the way. And we saw that in the Big 12 championships. The mantle of player of the day kept changing for the Cowgirls. But what about this too? If Stanford keeps, on top, and if they stay the number 1 seed, and they've kind of rolled this thing. This isn't the first time the Cowgirls have seen the Stanford Act. They were in Palo Alto at that regional. I'm going to guess that it might be an advantage to be somewhat comfortable with that team that is that team you have to beat. And the Cowgirls, just over the last couple of weeks, have seen a bunch of Stanford.
Oh, that's exactly right. No, you're right. What's really neat about getting down here to travel with the women's team, which I get to do a couple times a year, is you realize the relationships across the sport. For example, last night when the tee times came out, the entire team huddled around my computer, and they were excited. They wanted to see who they were playing against because they know all of these players. It's a small community. While we have what 5 or 6 different countries represented on our team. For somehow they all know all of these players out here, and so they're all driven to kind of to bring the best out of each other, and it makes for a really fun deal. So, but yeah, you're exactly right. They do know the Stanford team really well. They've caught lightning in a bottle over the last few weeks. They've won that regional. I mean, don't forget they were the number 4 seed at their own regional. So they went out and won that regional in record-breaking fashion, as you could imagine, on their own course. And now here they are in the national championships, and they've kind of been able to translate that here too. So playing in the morning has been an advantage. It's been cool and windy for the last few days, so playing that morning session has turned out to be a massive advantage for teams that had that. And so the Cowgirls got lucky the last 2 days they were morning, and were able to go out and record some low scores before the afternoon sessions got going. And today they kind of get it shifted back to the afternoon, but at the same time the wind isn't as kind of as ferocious as it has been. So hopefully the Cowgirls can go out there, lock in a nice top 3 seed, and cruise on into match play tomorrow morning.
Yeah, and who are they paired with today? Who are they playing with today?
Today it'll be Stanford and Duke. So 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, how about
that?
A team
that. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. As a matter of fact, they'll probably be featured heavily. The coverage on Golf Channel begins this afternoon, 4 to 8 p.m. Central. So you'll be able to watch it as it starts heating up today.
Yeah, and 3 paragons of academia. I mean, the academic power of the West Coast, Stanford, the Dukies. I mean, all we need is Harvard or Yale to fill out the foursome. I mean, in Oklahoma State, a paragon of academia. I mean, I've got a degree from that school. I'm proud of the academic record of Oklahoma State. Now, they may not be proud that I've got a degree, but
yeah, that's a totally different topic.
I had to throw that in, but yeah, that's pretty. You're in pretty high SAT status when you're playing in a threesome with Stanford and Duke.
And not bad golf either.
No, not bad golf either, but I mean that's pretty cool. All right, probably unfair to even ask you this. I'm guessing because I know how tuned in you are with Coach Boynton and the basketball program, which you also serve as the primary media contact on. But shocked at all that that Eric Pastrana is heading to Florida to the staff there with the Gators?
I wouldn't say shocked. Obviously, Coach Boynton is upset because Eric was not just a really good coach and recruiter and such a valuable member of the staff, but they were really good friends. They've been together for quite some time. They were on those Stephen F. Austin staffs together. And so everyone's really, sad to see him go for sure. But for him, you could see how much of a no-brainer it was. He is from Miami originally. He's been a head coach at Daytona State in the junior college level there in Florida, and then also on the staffs of FIU and FAU. His family is still from Florida, so anytime he gets a vacation, that's kind of where he's headed. And so it makes total sense that Michael White, also a young up-and-coming coach there at Florida, would try to replace 2 guys that he lost, who became head coaches, by the way. He lost 2 guys to that. So, of course, he's going to reach out to a guy who recruits Florida really well, recruits that East Coast, and can help keep that momentum rolling for them. But, obviously it's a tough one in Stillwater for the Cowboy basketball faithful, though.
Well, and again, we saw, Coach Boynton had an opening to fill, kind of took his time, and I thought made a great pick. I don't know Terrence Rencher, but I remember him as a player at the University of Texas. Certainly, he brings those ties from down below the Red River, and he's you look at his resume. He's been at a number of good schools, and very favorable things said about him. If you were just guessing what the timetable might be here, what would you think?
I would think this one might move probably a little quicker, just simply because of all of the in-person recruiting that has to be done in June and July. That the NCAA has changed the rules now. The COVID is much more of a manageable situation now, and so all sports starting June 1 can go out and start recruiting in person. So that means bringing kids back onto campus as well as going to see them and evaluate talent. So the coaches will spend a lot of the month of June and July on the road, and being down one person would be really rough when it comes to that sort of thing. Now, he could get creative if there isn't the right candidate that he finds immediately. He could send somebody like Keaton Page to fill that role in temporarily or full time. So we'll see what happens there. Or there's maybe there's a candidate out there that he has in mind already. Mike Boynton is fond of saying one thing: there's always a plan. So my guess is that he's working hard on getting that spot filled as quickly as possible.
And it probably doesn't hurt the fact that you were in a search for an assistant coach when you hired Terrence Rencher, and there may have been some guys that were pretty close in that that search that you go back and revisit. So that might be a plus.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree there. And those East Coast recruiting ties all up and down the Eastern Seaboard are so valuable to Pastrana. As much as anything, though, he was really valuable as a resource to Mike, and he was heavily involved in practices. He was heavily involved in scouting. Obviously, just a kind of a workhorse type guy, and so that's the part that'll be so tough for Coach Boynton to replace, and something he's, I'm sure not really looking forward to doing.
Yeah. Anyway, hey, glad you are out there in Arizona and doing so well with the Cowgirls. It's going to be interesting, like you said. The coverage from the Golf Channel will kick in, and then when you get to match play, that to me, I mean, that's more exciting golf is when you get into match play, because obviously it's like you said, it's not just one person can carry the team. It's mano a mano all the way down the line. So this will be interesting. What's the course like? This isn't the course where they have the PGA tournament out there, is it?
No, I know it's hosted some events like that in the past. This is actually Phil Mickelson's home course.
Okay,
they're really excited. Yeah, they're extremely happy. As a matter of fact, the restaurant is called Phil's Place. There's pictures of him everywhere, so it's really neat. But it is your typical desert golf course: cactus everywhere, scrub brush. The roughs are more gravelly, cleachy type material, but lush fairways and greens, just as green as can be. So wide open, narrow fairways. Like I said, it plays pretty long for a collegiate golf course, but they've done a tremendous job of getting this course ready to go. It's absolutely in beautiful shape, and the girls have really enjoyed playing it. So, but yeah, like I said, typical desert golf course. Cactus, the saguaro cactus everywhere. They're super tall, and if you miss the fairway, you are in some nasty stuff, either left or right. So the windier it gets, the more difficult it gets. It was a very windy first day, for example, and only one team was even at par. So it made for some challenging golf. When the winds cool down, you end up with a little more of lower scores and a lot more fun by the golfers for sure.
Hey, Stephen, I appreciate it, and continued good success out there with the Cowgirls, and we'll look forward to seeing you when you get home.
That sounds great, Robert. I appreciate you guys.
All right, Stephen Howard out there with the Cowgirl golf team, and the men will be out there before long.